Soundstripe.
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstripe.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and by my nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get a lot.
Welcome back to the XandO Sports Show. I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley. I hope everybody is doing well this weekend. Yesterday was a good day for college football, for smaller programs. As for the bigger programs, there was some nightmares, and we're not even going to hold out. We're going to get right into it. Let's start off with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I know we have some upsets every year. Let's go to get that out. We have upsets every year, but good Lord. Not only did Notre Dame lose, they were ranked number 5 just last week. So let's roll it back just a little bit. They lost to Ohio State, which wasn't a bad loss because they were the number 2 team. If you're number 2, well, if you lose to a number 2 team and you're 5, the most they can move you back is like number 8, which is where they moved them at because it wasn't a bad loss. Like somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. So it's understandable. So this week was pretty much supposed to be on paper a gimme. Now, I didn't know anything about Marshall, but you don't lose to Marshall. You don't. Marshall University, last time Marshall was relevant was Randy Moss played wide receiver for them, and I think it was in the 90s, maybe. That's the last time, to me, Marshall was relevant. Now, I'm stretching the truth a little bit, but I haven't known Marshall to do too much of anything when it came to football. They might have like a decent season, maybe like third in their conference, but let's be realistic. Last time you heard of Marshall was probably the movie or Randy Moss, playing there a couple years ago. Well, like 20 years ago. So just outside of scratching the truth, I went back and watched the game because I didn't watch it. I was thinking like, oh, this is going to be a blowout. Marshall surprised me. It's not like, oh, it was some fluke win. No, they were more physical. They pounded Notre Dame. Like they got into the Power I one time and ran it right at them. You don't do that to Power 5 teams like that because most time they got some hog mollies and some big boys up front. They were physical. Those corners, I might be keeping my eye on both of them because one of them is I can't think of his name. He played for the Panthers last year. He came from the Patriots. His little brother plays corner there. But getting into the game, I watched this game and Notre Dame got beat physically. And then so they pounded. And then they got into the end zone and the drive was like 3 minutes and 48 seconds. That's a long drive. They're just pounding. And Notre Dame tries to stop them. They couldn't. So they ended up being 7-0. All right, then they call a play. And I understand what the coach is trying to do, which I've seen a lot of football. He was trying to call a play just to get the guy a completion, to get his confidence up. Let's probably start taking more shots down the field. This is not the quarterback you can do that for. First of all, like it's a thing called a pre-snap read. Marshall did not disguise what they're in. So they did a 3-by-1 set. So they had one receiver on this side, 3 on this side. The 2 slot guys had guys walked on top of them. The outside corner was playing off because you never want to play on the same level as corners because if you do, you can get picked easily. So he played off. They ran a hitch and 2 dagger routes inside. Both those slot receivers, both of them got jammed immediately. Put hands on them, physical. That corner took a T-step. He took one odd step. He broke on it immediately. Picked it off. You can't call that play in man coverage. I wouldn't. Most time if it's like an off zone, I'll throw it out there quick. Even if it is in man, your guy got to sell it. He didn't. And also, when your quarterback has an arm like a 6-year-old pitcher, you can't call that play either. He just volleyed it out there, and that kid broke on it and picked it off. And I'm like, oh, okay. There's 2 problems with that. A, the offensive coordinator should know what his quarterback should be able to do. 2, the quarterback should understand, hey, this is not the best play to call in man coverage. Let me call a safe run play. Even though it's Marshall, the talent ain't that far off from these smaller schools and these bigger schools anymore. It's most time it's the offensive line and defensive line is really the biggest notice. You notice that first when you see a small D1 team versus a big D1 team. the guys up front are really the ones that's going to make a difference. You're going to have skills on the outside and probably have a decent quarterback and defensive backs, but those big guys up front are the biggest difference. So, like, Notre Dame just got bullied. And the fact that the OC and the quarterback were not on the same page, me personally, if he's struggling like that, I'll do a 3-by-1 to the opposite side. My best guy, he's going to run a slant if I need a completion to get his confidence up. Or call a screen. He needed something for his confidence booster. This is the stuff that you call. That stuff they called yesterday was piss poor. And the fact that they didn't call it not once to get it picked off. They called it twice. So later on in the game, they call like the same type of play. They call a hitch, bigger receiver. If a receiver is that big, you're not calling a hitch for him. You're going to use either his body for a slant where he could body a smaller corner or throw it up high to the top shelf where the kids can't get it. They throw another hitch with this 6'4" receiver. He got stiff hips, so he shows his chest. Picks it off, pick 6. It's like 4 minutes left in the game. That pretty much sealed the game. The game's already tight. This quarterback not only threw 1 interception with the same type of play call, he threw 2, and that was for a pick 6. They benched him after that. Back up through another interception. But this man coverage they stayed in was very, very tight. If you picked off 1 hitch on me, you best believe I'm throwing a hitch and go. You jump it again, I'm beating you deep. But the thing is, stuff on math for them yesterday, and they got beat. So basically, long story short, Notre Dame had 3 turnovers. Their defense got pounded for 219 yards on the ground. You can't even beat a JV squad if you're giving up 219 yards. Like, they lost the time of possession. You can't get beat physical up front. You can't give up turnovers and lose time of possessions. You lose games that way, no matter who you play. Like I said, Notre Dame can't beat anyone that way. And the worst part is, you got Clemson next week. You lose Ohio State, tough one. Okay, happens. You lose a Marshall, that's not supposed to happen. Now you got an uphill battle with Clemson next week. Bless your heart. Because I don't think Clemson is going to – I think Clemson is going to play their best football against Notre Dame next week. If Notre Dame don't play their best game, they're going to go 0-3. And they're going to probably be reconsidering the coaching evaluation that they just made. They had an interim coach last year, and they made him full-time this year. Now, was that loss his fault yesterday? Yes, it was, because you can't be the head coach only when you're winning. You have to take the lumps when you're losing too. Same thing happened to Manny Diaz last year. That offensive coordinator has to sit down with his quarterback and his office, understand, hey, what is it that we can do? Because clearly yesterday, y'all came through against man coverage. So you're going to have to be more physical up front, call some RPOs, because your quarterback is not that talented. Stay to his strengths. If he can run, call some run plays for him, do some RPOs, get him in a rhythm. But enough of that sad story. Moving on to Texas A&M. Texas A&M, nobody, and I want to just to every audience, even if it makes it to Mexico and China, nobody in football should ever put Appalachian State up there as a cupcake team ever. 2007, they embarrassed Michigan in the big house. They also been a championship team, blew their hopes up. Last year, Miami, my guys, we put them on the list early. We almost lost to them. This year, Texas A&M want to take their hand at it, like these guys haven't been putting talent together every year and either beating people or almost beating people. You can't do that to Appalachian State. On the outside, they're good, just as good as anybody else. Their quarterback's not that bad. And that number 35, Lord have mercy, he going pro. I don't know what day he's going. He's definitely going pro. So, like I said, Michigan, Miami almost was a victim last year. Texas A&M was a victim this year. I love the play calling they had. They know that these guys up front are big and physical, right? But if you are putting speed in space, and these big guys going to have to run, so they ran in right at them, which they had to respect. Okay, I got respected, right? Then you turn around, they call misdirection. One play call, it was beautiful. They only got 11 yards on it. The quarterback takes the handoff, fakes it to the running back, has a guy in motion going that way, fakes the bubble screen. And once he fakes the bubble screen, he has another guy coming towards him, and he hands it off as a reverse. And that was a whole lot of eye candy. And I was like, that keeps guys honest, because if your eyes are constantly doing this, You can't come up and make the play. So they got 11 yards off him because it was one block that was just missed. But I love the creativity. They kept them on their toes. And number 35, his name was McLeod. He put that offensive tackle on his back several times. This dude was undersized compared to those tackles. He was laying wood at them. There was a 3-man pressure. He comes upfield, put the offensive tackle on his back, gets back to the quarterback, strips him. I think the running back or somebody picks it up. He strips him too. That is what we call and teach effort. I'm sorry. That's what we call effort. You can't teach that. Either you got it or you don't. That was, to me, those plays like that is what really won the game for Appalachian State. So, like I said, they blocked the field goal later on too. So they dominated all 3 stages of football. Offensively, they didn't turn the ball over, ran the ball physical. Defensively, they caused turnovers, and they blocked the field goal. That is how you win football games if you're not an overly talented team. Appalachian State has been in the running in their side of the conference year in, year out. But if you lose 2 games on that side, you're out. So, like I said, it gets no easier. And the reason why I didn't explain what Texas A&M did wrong, because Appalachian State did so many things well. There's nothing Texas A&M could do about it. But unfortunately for Texas A&M, guess who's coming to town next week? My Hurricanes. If you play that same way, we're going to put another egg on your head. And then if I'm mistaken after that, you got another Arkansas team. Even if you get by us, you have Arkansas that's ranked like number 17. They're physical and they're hungry. So if you lose to us next week, you got Arkansas next. And Arkansas ain't playing. You could possibly go 0-4 if you don't get your stuff together. This is what I love about college football. You must show up every weekend. It's not like the pros, you can take a couple weeks off and still make the playoffs. No. One loss, and depending on your conference, you could be out. If Alabama loses 2 and you're Washington State and you go undefeated and lose 1 in the championship game, you may be out. Every week you have to show up. This is what I love about it. First of all, shout out to McCain's. We took care of business and got the W Saturday. However, I'm a Hurricanes fan. I have no slack on you guys either. We didn't show up in the first half and we were only up, 7-3 or 7-0? We can't do that against good teams. We can't. There's no way we're going to be able to beat the tough teams. But I'm proud. I think we won like 31-7 at the end. We took care of business. And you want to get out of those games injury-free. So I think that we did. And last but not least, outside of all the games that were played, most of them were played pretty well. Besides Alabama, they had a tough win. I watched the last minute of it because I was at like actual tailgate series. And pretty much Alabama came back at the end. It was like 1 minute left. And they drove down. And I was telling an Alabama fan, you can't pay your guy NIL like $2 million and he can't win you a football game. With a minute and 24, he's going to win this game. And he did. He did his job. He got his team in field goal range and they won. Either Texas is better than we think or Alabama got some work to do. Either way, it was still entertaining. Alabama, you were surrounded by all those people throwing up those horns. It was hostile. You didn't have your band there. Those games build character. Now, if Texas turn around and win 8 or 9 games this year, that looks good on Alabama's record. But we will find out how good these teams really are in due time. As for time, this is
Soundstripe.
I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley, and I am
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstripe.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of gold. Stack that bread and by my nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get